Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze the main tactical theme in Arsenal's 3-1 win over Manchester United. So in today's video, first we're going to focus on how both sides look to press, then we'll analyze Arsenal's attacking shape, and lastly we'll focus on Ronaldo's impact against Nuno Tavares. So when we break it all down and we do look at the board, we have both sides starting in a 4-2-3-1, and from here the interesting feat for Arsenal was down their left-hand side with Smith Rowe starting instead of Martinelli and Nuno Tavares playing at left back. But first we'll focus on how both sides look to press, and ultimately it was similar. In terms of Arsenal, what we ended up seeing was that they would press in two banks of four. You had Nketiah and Odegaard leading the press by stepping towards Lindelof and Varane, and you'd expect Smith Rowe and Saka to step out to Alex Telles and Dalot. But what you ended up seeing here was that Arsenal were very organized with their pressing, and they didn't necessarily need Xhaka and Elneny to step forward to close down McTominay and Matic. They always had one of the two players looking to sit with Bruno, who was dropping off into space between the lines, or looking to find pockets of space to serve as an outlet with Arsenal look to press. But what ended up happening was that when Nketiah and Odegaard looked to press Lindelof and Varane, they would block off the passing lanes into McTominay and Matic to ensure that they couldn't get on the ball. There were occasions where you had only one striker stepping towards one of the center backs, and that's when you would see Odegaard or Nketiah dropping off on Matic. So for instance, if Nketiah pushed to Lindelof, Odegaard would sit on Matic, and then if Odegaard stepped towards Varane, Nketiah could drop off on Matic, and from there you would see Xhaka stepping towards McTominay, and then Elneny would track the movement of Bruno. For the most part, Arsenal's pressing was successful, and while it didn't always disrupt United from building out of the back, it ensured that they had an issue to encounter to get into Arsenal's third, and it also ensured that United couldn't create chances from those deeper positions. If Arsenal dropped off into two banks of four, it was fairly similar. You'd have Nketiah and Odegaard near McTominay and Matic. They were okay with Lindelof and Varane carrying the ball forward, and if they did step towards the center backs, they'd be blocking off the passing lane in towards McTominay and Matic. And then from there, you'd see Smith Rowe and Saka tucking in narrow, prepared to push out towards the fullbacks, but also capable of dropping off deeper to help out Nuno Tavares and Cedric to make it a 1v2. And then Elneny and Xhaka would track the movement in towards the half spaces, whether it be from Bruno or Ronaldo, to ensure that the runs that were made in behind the Arsenal fullbacks were covered. United also pressed in a 4-4-2 with Ronaldo and Bruno stepping towards the center backs. And when you look at that midfield construct, it was significant that Bruno was blocking off the passing lane into Elneny, because what ends up happening there is that McTominay could push forward to step towards Xhaka, and Matic could sit deeper to track the movement of Odegaard. You have Elanga and Sancho who could shift out to the fullbacks, and there are occasions where you'd have Sancho or Elanga blocking off the passing lane in between the fullbacks and the center backs. The issue that United had here on occasion was that when Ronaldo and Bruno looked to press, there were times where Bruno did gamble and he would step towards the goalkeeper, or he simply wasn't blocking off the passing lane in towards Elneny, and that would force Matic to step forward. In those situations where Matic steps forward into the midfield zone to press with McTominay, then now Odegaard can now drop off into that inside right position and serve as a passing outlet, because neither Varane or Lindelof were dropping off in towards Arsenal's half to apply pressure. In many situations, they could simply have Ronaldo and Bruno just sit off and block off the passing lane into Xhaka and Elneny, and there were even occasions where you had Bruno with Sancho tucking in a bit narrow to stick near Elneny to ensure that Matic could track the movement of Odegaard so that he couldn't help Arsenal repeatedly bypass that United press. Therefore, there were two issues that United couldn't counter with their pressing. Either one of the center forwards in Ronaldo or Bruno stepping towards Ramsdale and then leaving Gabriel and White open as a passing option, or Bruno simply not blocking off the passing lane in towards Elneny. In this example, you witness Ramsdale sliding the ball across Bruno looking to apply pressure, and it falls into the path of Elneny, and that's going to force McTominay to shift across to apply pressure. When Elneny receives the ball, as we watch that play develop, you can see that he pulls out McTominay, and from there he's now looking to slide the ball across that pressure into the path of Xhaka to help Arsenal push in towards United's half. From there, Xhaka can now carry the ball forward. You see Elanga looking to shift across, and Nketiah is dropping off in towards his own half to receive the ball to progress Arsenal's play. If we look to another example, here you can see Smith Rowe dropping into his own half to pull away McTominay as Bruno steps step towards Xhaka, and now that leaves Elneny free as Ronaldo and Bruno aren't closing him down, and Smith Rowe could drop the ball off to Elneny, and as that play develops, you could see that Odegaard is now looking to find space in between Matic and Sancho, and that's where Elneny splits both to find Odegaard to progress Arsenal's play. As we watch that attack develop, it's Odegaard pulling away from Sancho, and now we could slide the ball out into the path of Saka to place him in a 1v1 with the United left back. That ultimately results in Saka carrying the ball and creating a 2v2 with Cedric making an overlapping run and Sancho dropping back to apply pressure for his left back. The Cedric overlapping run allows Saka to go 1v1 with Sancho, and from there he's now looking to square the ball into the path of Odegaard or take a shot on goal. He opts to square the ball across Matic retreating for Odegaard, and from there focus on Saka's movement. He makes a run off Sancho in towards the penalty area, and that forces the left back who was initially tracking the run of Cedric to track the run of Saka, and Odegaard identifies that threat, and he clips the ball over the United backline for Saka, and from there that's where he's bumped over for the penalty. There was one occasion where Bruno stepped towards White and then forced the ball back to Ramsdale, but from there he stepped towards Ramsdale, and that left White free. In that situation, you saw Sancho shifting across to step towards White, and then Matic left Odegaard free to step near Elneny. When that ball was played back into the path of White, what ends up happening there is that when White gets the ball, he could play it in towards Elneny, and although United did a very good job of blitzing Elneny, now you have Odegaard and Cedric free. In that situation, you need one of the center backs to step, and you have Matic pushing out towards Cedric to look to close him down. When Cedric receives the ball, Arsenal are in a good position to get the ball out to Odegaard, but what's key here is the commitment of Sancho as he locates Odegaard free and instantly sprints back to cut out the passing lane towards Odegaard, but that simply is unsustainable. So while United's pressing was competent in several situations, it was lapses from the front two that allowed Arsenal to bypass that press and get themselves into dangerous positions. In terms of Arsenal's 3-2-5, there wasn't any significant changes. What you end up seeing from Arsenal's shape was that they had Nuno Tavares providing the width on the left and Saka providing the width on the right. That meant that Gabriel and Cedric operated as the exterior center backs, and then in terms of the overall width, what you ended up seeing from the left was that Smith Rowe was dropping ahead of Dalot, and Xhaka was shifting into an inside left position to get on the ball. So in that situation, Smith Rowe was dropping off of Dalot into pockets of space between the lines, or he was shifting to the outside of Elanga, whether it be on the right or the left, to occupy him, and that would allow Tavares to receive the ball near the left touchline. Following Elneny bypassing Bruno, he looks to split Matic and Elanga to find Smith Rowe dropping off Dalot and focus on Nuno Tavares' movement. When Smith Rowe receives the ball, he does well to shield it away from Elanga, and then you could see the Arsenal left back continuing his movement down the left channel. Dalot doesn't step forward initially, but following Smith Rowe's first touch, he does look to make a challenge, but before he can do that, Smith Rowe aims to slide the ball into the path of Nketiah free ahead of the center backs. Nketiah locates the run of Nuno Tavares breaking into left half space, and from there he splits Dalot and Lindelof to find the Arsenal left back in that zone. As that play develops, Dalot makes a sliding challenge to block a low ball towards the 6-yard area, but Nuno Tavares cuts on towards his right foot, and from there he places himself in a shooting position, or he could play the ball out to an unmarked Odegaard in right half space. However, rather than looking to pick out that pass, he attempts to wrap the ball around Lindelof to beat De Gea, but he ends up skying his effort over the net. Over on the right hand side, Odegaard was pushing beyond Matic and Sancho to occupy Varane and Telles, and from there when he was making runs in towards those zones, he was dragging them central, and that would allow switches of play out to Saka to receive the ball in a position where he could run at the retreating United left back. If that wasn't the case, Odegaard was shifting laterally into that space in the inside channel to receive the ball in behind Sancho, just to serve as a passing outlet to bypass the United midfield bank. Xhaka and Elneny were often situated centrally, but in the opening stages, what you ended up witnessing was that Xhaka was looking to switch first-time balls out towards the left channel for Nuno Tavares, making runs off Dalot because Elanga wasn't tracking them. And in the build-up to the opener, you could see that he shifted the ball into the path of Saka, and from there it was Tavares making a run off Tyrrell as Smith Rowe was occupying Lindelof. Because when you look at Arsenal's 3-2-5, it's basically Smith Rowe occupying Lindelof and Nketiah occupying Varane, and then that's where Odegaard's positioning is key because he's basically situated ahead of Telles, and that's where you need Sancho to track back because Saka was making runs towards the back post. So when you look at Arsenal's general attacking play, if Odegaard's shifting towards the inside right or towards the right touchline, and Nketiah is still capable of dropping into space between the lines or ahead of the midfield bank to receive the ball and link play with his teammates, Smith Rowe, like I said, occupying space to the right and the left of Elanga, or simply occupying Tyrrell before shifting towards Lindelof to allow Nuno Tavares to push forward. And then over on the right hand side, it's Saka looking to receive the ball towards the right touchline. Odegaard would be making runs in between Varane and Telles or looking to make runs in behind Telles. And you did have the occasional Cedric overlapping run. In many situations, it was Saka dragging markers towards him, similar to Tavares dragging markers towards him. And from there, he could drop the ball off into the path of Xhaka, and that's where you saw the first time balls in towards the box. And the same thing applied to Cedric, but his first time balls were cleared at the front post by Varane. Therefore, Saka's best option from that right touchline zone was to drag markers towards him, cut on towards his left, and then slide the ball back towards Odegaard, who could then create, shift the ball out towards the left-hand side, or look to combine with Saka making a run off Telles in towards right half space. In this example, you witness El Neni receiving a loose ball from Smith Rowe and focus on Odegaard in between Alex Telles and Varane. You could see that Saka's unmarked in right half space, and when Odegaard receives the ball, you could see that Alex Telles does apply tight pressure from behind. And what Odegaard does well here is that he backheels the ball around that pressure, not for Saka, but for Nketiah, who's kept onside. And from this position, Nketiah only has to hit the ball first time to beat the goalkeeper, and he should be finishing. But he ends up firing his effort right at De Gea, who pushes it away. Meanwhile, when we shift to United, the real threat that they posed was down Arsenal's left-hand side, where Ronaldo was dropping off Gabriel into space ahead of Gabriel and Tavares. And from there, he was looking to receive the ball, and Gabriel refused to get tight towards him. And then he was looking to play balls in towards Elanga, making runs off Tavares to break in behind. This was a reoccurring theme throughout that game, and if it wasn't Elanga, he was looking to play the ball in towards Tyrrell, making an overlapping run to get the right back into attacking positions. And outside of that, even when you look to the manner in which United scored their opener, yes, Sancho does a very good job of dragging Saka and Cedric towards him before dropping off the ball towards Matic. Odegaard doesn't get tight towards Matic, but look at Ronaldo's positioning. He shifts into that gap between Tavares and Gabriel, and while Ramsdale does make a mistake by coming out and not dealing with the ball, it's Ronaldo who's able to get himself into a goal-scoring position ahead of Tavares and Gabriel to narrow the deficit. Following a Bruno and Ronaldo combination to break into Arsenal's half, it's Ronaldo dragging away Gabriel in towards the right channel and focus on Elanga's movement. Ronaldo locates Elanga running off Nuno Tavares, and he simply looks to slide the ball across Nuno Tavares and Gabriel for Elanga to break free. Elanga does receive the ball due to a lucky bounce, and from there now the United youngster is capable of breaking towards the Arsenal penalty area. You could see that Arsenal's left back is looking to recover his position to close down Elanga, but as that play develops, the United youngster is able to carry the ball in towards right half space, and Nuno Tavares does well to stick with the play and force him towards right half space in the wider zones, and from there Elanga fires a low effort on goal that Ramsdale pushes away. Minutes later, it's Tyrrell sliding the ball across Nketiah for Ronaldo, dropping off Gabriel with the ample amount of space to receive the ball. And from there, you can see that Elanga is looking to run off Nuno Tavares. But as we zoom in, you can see that Nuno Tavares is ball watching. Ronaldo identifies that, and he slides the ball across the left back for Elanga, running off his shoulder. From there, you can see that Elanga receives the ball beyond Nuno Tavares, and now he's looking to break goal side to pose a legitimate goal threat. As we speed up the play, you can see that Nuno Tavares is still recovering while Elanga carries the ball in towards the Arsenal penalty area. And from here, you're just hoping that Nuno Tavares doesn't commit a foul. And luckily for Arteta, it's Elanga slipping towards the ground and Nuno Tavares not committing a foul that halts the United attack. So as you can see, while Arsenal encountered several nervy moments down their left-hand side, the construct of Arteta's 3-2-5, combined with their ability to play through United's pressing on the occasions it was disjointed, was enough for Arsenal to make a final push for a place in the Premier League's top four.